Played down the island nation's concerns, but Taiwan is urging the United States and Europe to sell them more weapons to develop their own arsenal. China says this year's defense budget will total 600 billion yuan, that's $91.5 billion US dollars. A bomb was exploded in a mosque packed for Friday prayers in northwest Pakistan. 9 people were killed after the bomb went off in Peshawar province. 30 others were wounded, and officials are expecting the number of fatalities to grow. Meanwhile, mourners have gathered in Islamabad for the funeral of the former Minorities Minister Shahbaz Bhatti. AlJazeera's Kamal Haider has the story.
Last rites for a man who predicted his own death. Shahbaz Bhatti's coffin, draped in the flag of the All Pakistan Minority Alliance, was brought to Islamabad's main church for a final goodbye. Amidst tight security, mourners gathered outside Fatima Church to pay homage to a man who championed minority rights and spoke of reform of Pakistan's controversial blasphemy law. Senior government officials and foreign dignitaries also paid their respects.
The Pakistan flag is a symbolic that the green side and the white side. The white side represents minorities.
For Pakistan's Christians, the loss of Shahbaz Bhatti is great for some. He's now a martyr. His body was then flown to his native village in the Punjab for burial. Shahbaz Bhatti is not the first victim of the controversy over the blasphemy law, and the real fear is that he may not be the last. Kamal Haider, AlJazeera, Islamabad.
You're watching Al Jazeera. These are the stories making the headlines. We're getting reports that an airstrike in Libya's second largest city, Benghazi. A rebel spokesman told the Reuters news agency that the target was an arms depot on the outskirts of the city. Meanwhile, at least 30 people have been killed in the Libyan town of AlJazeera in the west. It comes after forces loyal to Muammar Gaddafi attacked opposition fighters who'd been in control. Libyan state television is reporting that pro-Gaddafi forces have now taken the town from rebel hands. There's also been fighting in Gaddafi's stronghold Tripoli. Security forces fired tear gas on protesters who took to the streets after Friday prayers. There have been demonstrations elsewhere in the Arab world, including in Yemen. Protesters in the capital Sana'a called for the end of the veteran president's rule. And in northern Yemen, it's reported at least 2 people have been killed during anti-government protests. There have been demonstrations also in Cairo's Tahrir Square. The new Prime Minister Hassan al-Sharaf addressed the crowd and vowed to work hard to realise protesters' demands. In the Iraqi capital Baghdad, protesters demanded improved services, better pay and an end to government corruption. While further south in the city of Basra, security forces used water cannon and batons against anti-government demonstrators. And people in Jordan have also taken to the streets. Crowds in the capital Amman have been demanding political reforms and the creation of a constitutional monarchy. Jordan's Prime Minister has rejected opposition calls to strip King Abdullah of his powers. A bomb blast has accompanied Friday prayers at a mosque in northwest Pakistan. 9 people were killed in Nowshera district. The explosion happened as food was being distributed to the poor. There was no immediate claim of responsibility. Also in Pakistan, mourners gathered for the funeral of the former Minorities Minister Shahbaz Bhatti. Security was tightened around Islamabad's main church, where a funeral service was held. Bhatti was shot dead on Wednesday. He'd been calling for reforms to Pakistan's controversial blasphemy law. Politicians in Taiwan say they feel threatened by China's plan to boost defence spending by 13%. Beijing played down the island nation's concerns, but Taiwan is urging the United States and Europe to sell them more weapons to develop their own arsenal. Those are the headlines. The news continues on Al Jazeera after a talk to Al Jazeera with one of Gaddafi's sons, Saif al-Islam.
A debilitating condition afflicting millions of women across the developing world.
Sometimes it is not possible to cure a patient with fistula. We have to prepare her psychologically.
Revealing the human stories behind fistula and its intimate connection to poverty. A powerful new series exploring global maternal health. birthrights. At this time on Al Jazeera.
An uprising on the streets, showing no sign of relenting. Protesters united in their defiance of the regime. As demonstrations continued for a third week, President Mubarak remained unmoved. But how much longer could he ignore the demands of his people and hold on to power? In a day-by-day account, we look at the events that changed Egypt, from those that witnessed them firsthand. Fall of Mubarak, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Homes have crumbled and many buildings have been left just empty shells.
Tensions are high. Riot police trying to control thousands of Greek protesters on the streets of Athens.
A British court has approved the go-ahead for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to be extradited.
Gaddafi is waging a war against the Libyan people. They are killing civilians mercilessly. They're using ammunition, live ammunition.
Libya's crisis has seen the emergence of a host of new and distinct voices in the country. Voices from the east, voices on the internet, and in the capital Tripoli, the emergence of a new Gaddafi voice, that of his second eldest son, Saiful Islam Gaddafi. Educated partly at the London School of Economics, he's long been seen as potentially the reformist figure in his father's 42-year regime. Saiful Islam Gaddafi, Saif, welcome to Talk to Al Jazeera. So, the fight back has begun.
It's not the fight back. It's, first of all, it's calm all over the country, except today what happened in El Brega. El Brega is an oil port, so we export most of our oil from there. And because some armed people went to the harbor and trying to control the harbor, so the army sent 12 cars just to protect the harbor. In Benghazi, it's, as you know, unfortunately, it's a big mess. So there is no law and order. There is no government. There is no security, no police, no governance at all.
So will you be moving into Benghazi at some point?
I will tell you something. What's going to happen is the following. The west, the middle of the country, the south is calm, is peaceful, no problem. Some part in the east, by the way, not everywhere, some parts, like for example Darna or Benghazi, the people will fix the situation themselves because it's unbearable. Because now, no schools, no universities, no health care, no salaries, shops are not open. So people cannot live like this forever. So soon you will see the situation will change and the people will fix